Hello, I'm Rebecca, the founder of triiyo, and welcome to PEP Talks with triiyo. triiyo is the leading solution for workplaces to support their people during every life transition, from starting a family to retiring and every life event in between. On PEP Talks with triiyo, we chat to our expert partners for advice on how to best navigate these common, complex, and often messy life stages that happen during our working career. Keep listening as we connect the dots between life and work with the simple aim of education and empowerment. After all, life happens at work. Today on PEP Talks with triiyo, we're speaking with one of our financial wellbeing experts, Heather Mitchell, a money mentor at Finding Equilibrium. Heather, please, could you introduce yourself and the work that you do?
Hello, I am Heather Mitchell and I am a holistic money mentor from Finding Equilibrium. And everyone has a money story, and I help people with their money stories and find out what's going on, why they're having this, the relationship they have, why the actions they take with regards to money and what that stemmed from. And really that gives clarity. And then also I look at the relationship with themselves and take people on a whole journey into the world of money, including how to invest and build a strategic investment portfolio.
And this sounds so exciting, like the connection between your own money story and wealth and, you know, sort of you and your mindset, like that sort of connection between money stories and, you know, your wealth creation. How did you get into this, and what do people come to you with? You know, how do you help people with money, and what is a money story?
Sure. So I got into it a very long time ago. My dad was very forward thinking, and he introduced me to money and included me in the money conversation right from when I was a very small child. So even as young as 6 years old, I was part of that conversation. So I've grown up as an investor my entire life. So it's just very, very natural to me. As you know, in England, you don't talk about money. So I had no idea what my friends were doing. And as it turned out, not that much as I kind of, gleaned it, but it wasn't something that was talked about at all. So it wasn't really until I came to Australia that really it was a little bit more open here. So I kind of started talking about it a bit more. And it kind of evolved into the work that we were doing about holistic wellbeing anyway. So I just took over the money pillar. And your answer to what is a money story, it's like everyone has a money story in the sense of, everyone has a relationship with money. Everyone was told stories. There were incidents that happened when we were growing up. Everything that we were ever told by our parents, by our teachers, the things that happened has built a paradigm into the way that we feel about money, the way that we feel about abundance and about success in terms of our worthiness towards success. So in other words, there's a relationship with money itself. So if you think money's bad, if you think there's evil people who have money, all of that stuff might prevent you from getting money. And equally, if you feel badly about yourself, you feel you're unworthy, if you feel that money isn't for you, then obviously this is all going on under the surface. It's not something that you think about on a conscious level, but if that's how your subconscious feels about money, then that's what you'll get. And it just plays out. And a classic example is lottery winners who, how many 70% of lottery winners 2 years on are completely skint at the end of it.
Really?
Yeah. It's an incredible figure, isn't it? And I think that even more later on. And why would that be? You'd think that would be the solution to all their troubles, but it's not, because they fundamentally feel they don't deserve it, and so they orchestrate circumstances that just push it all away again. So you literally, the outside is a reflection of what's going on inside.
Right. So how do you work with people, and where does somebody start to unravel or even recognize what their money story is, and then start unpacking it, and then I guess you rebuild it? So how do you work with people? Does this process look like?
So I have a market research background, so it's all about questioning people and asking the right questions and going in really deep. So we start off like really, really deep. So there's just a series of deep questions that really get people to think about it. And it's interesting when I talk to people about their money stories, because it's like almost they're telling me for the first time, because it's not something you really think about, actually. You
No.
obviously know your own history, but not in the context of money. So they're kind of telling themselves while they're telling me, which is really interesting. So yeah, so it just kind of, this clarification happens, which in itself is so healing, because you go like, oh, okay, that's why I behave the way I do around it. So that in itself is very healing. But then we go through and we can like just get rid of all of those beliefs and then install new beliefs that really serve us so much better.
Yeah.
It's really, really powerful. And the other thing that I do, which is even another step on top of that, is that there's I do it for couples as well. So both couples are in the room at the same time, and so they're finding out about each other's money stories, which is like amazing. Their compassion that you get
Yeah.
from knowing that, and then they learn about how to invest and all the strategy together. So they're kind of, this dialogue is happening between couples that they then can kind of work through and actually work forward and build a strategy together. So it's game changing from a couples and relationship perspective as well. It's like an amazing byproduct of the whole thing.
Because that must be something that we don't normally talk about. We don't even recognize necessarily that it's going on within ourselves, and then we wouldn't necessarily recognize it within our partner, except that we might be bumping up against each other in, one person's a spender, one person's a saver, so I guess actually finances has got to be one of the biggest reasons marriages break down.
Yeah,
So I guess it's, the work that you're doing is hugely important, not just to from a relationship perspective, but actually then jointly building a wealth portfolio together as well. Can you get people, if you've got a spender and a saver, can you kind of get them on the same page, and is there a middle ground?
There is. I mean, again, it's like you understand what the triggers are. Like if it's triggering you, someone does something and then it triggers you, some deep thing happened when you were really little, and then so normally you just don't know why, like why they're getting so annoyed, like just chill out, but if you understand why that happened, it just leads to a bit more understanding. It's like, oh, okay, I understand now why you feel that way. So I think just people just naturally just back off a bit and behave a bit better, a bit more compassionately with their partner, knowing that that's what's going on. So it does actually improve relationships, and you were saying about the cause of breakups. It's actually often cited as the number one cause of breakups, the kind of financial thing. So if there's a way to increase that dialogue, it's so powerful. It really is.
Absolutely. And so part of the work you do is unpacking people's money story, and then reframing it and recreating a narrative that is, I guess, not one of lack. And then what's the next stage? When you're working with people around wealth creation, how does that work? What does that look like? What are those steps there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as you say, we start with a money story, and then once that's kind of repaired, because I want to get the foundations right, the next stage of the foundation is to find out and improve people's energetics. So it sounds a bit woo-woo, but actually it's sort of all backed by quantum physics now.
I love this stuff.
I know, it's amazing. So everything is energy, we're all energy, money's energy, everything is energy. So it's getting those energies working with you. So it's going back to all those indigenous and ancient kind of practices and quantum physics, and making sure that those things are in place as well. So it's what I try and do is to look at things holistically, to look at abundance from every perspective and tackling it all at the same time. So it just ups your chances of success. So it's like belt and braces and everything else all at once.
You do like vision boards. I remember years ago when The Secret first came out, and I watched that, and then I did the vision board, and I still absolutely to this day love vision boards and visualization and meditation and all this good thing around, really getting clear on where am I going, what do I want, and that belief that you have to set your vision. You don't need to know the path, but you need to take the first step towards that end goal. Is that something that you do? Is it because that is obviously very woo to many people, but I absolutely do believe in it. But is that kind of part of your process, or?
Absolutely, there is that kind of thing involved, and I think it's about that belief, and it's about being that person. You have to be the person who's abundant before you can actually then become abundant. It doesn't work the other way around. So you have to actually become that person. So I teach people the whole methodology. It's really, really fascinating, really life-changing. It's like, it's not just, ends up not being about money in the end.
Yeah.
It's
See,
so
I
much.
hear that and go, in which case then I should be walking around splashing cash, buying myself all of these things, because that's that means I'm abundant. I've got loads of money to spend, but that's obviously not really the case, is it?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, because I think it's more of an attitude. And I think it's also about, what would that person do? Maybe they wouldn't want to be a cash splasher.
Yeah.
You can build
The
the life
story.
you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really about, it's about your own desires. And yeah, it's absolutely transformational, is all I can say. It's hard to explain sometimes, to sort of put into words, but the process is amazing. Yeah.
Can you give us an example of somebody you've worked with? What was that outcome?
Yeah, sure. So there's one client I worked with, and she really had a classic sort of poverty mindset. When she was growing up, her dad worked in a factory. So every single day he'd come home and have a row with her mum about money. It was always about money, and it was just really, really miserable. And I think that, I suspect, she didn't know, but I suspect they also raided her piggy bank, because she had this belief that if she didn't spend all her money, then it would disappear.
Ah, right.
So you can imagine it was absolutely catastrophic for her, wealth creation. She just couldn't save anything, and her money was dwindling rapidly. It was really quite serious.
Yeah.
And so once she was aware of this was going on, it just absolutely changed. And and she's completely different now. Like, she's investing in property. She's just being a really different personality. And she even put on LinkedIn, because I put a post up and she replied on LinkedIn. She said, wow, you've not only changed my life, but you've changed my partner's life as well. So it had this kind of ripple effect to
Wow.
the whole family. So yeah, it's really deep work. It really is.
So
Yeah.
the deep work, is that your USP, or is there some other, what would you call your USP? What's the magic that you bring?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, because I bring together quite a lot of different modalities all together. So I have my analytics or my market research background, which is the analytic side in terms of the analysis, but also the fact that it's all about human behavior and motivations, and then understanding why people do things the way they do, which includes psychology. I've also trained in NLP and Psych K, and bringing quantum physics and spirituality. So it's kind of like so many different aspects to it, all coming together. It's that blending of all different modalities. I think it's quite unique, I think.
And can you do this work remotely, online, or do people, do they have to come and see you for, to work with you, or can all of this amazing stuff be delivered online?
Yeah, that's it. I do it all online. Yeah, it's all on Zoom. Yeah, I do. My main thing is group mentoring. So I have a group of people together, and that adds to it as well, because obviously you've got that whole kind of blending of ideas, and
realizing you're not the only person in the world that is really crap with money. That we all have all of these things that we were brought up with. It really makes you wonder and double check yourself as a parent, doesn't it? Like, what am I instilling into my children, which actually may become really limiting for them at some point in the future? I remember somebody saying to me, we shouldn't say, oh no, we can't afford it. We just say we choose not to spend our money on that. So just the narrative and words that we use are so powerful, not just for our own belief system and our own subconscious, but also that of our children.
Oh, words are so powerful. I mean, it's amazing. Like, yeah, I remember the amazing book is The Four Agreements, and that talks about your word and how powerful it is. And even, you know, there was a Japanese scientist who actually saw, he got all these water droplets, and he looked at them under a microscope, and if you say a really lovely word, it comes out with these beautiful crystals. And if you say a horrible and evil word, it's just horrible. It's nothing. It's just, it's really, really, really telling.
Incredible. Well, that's energy, isn't it? Right?
It is. It's energy, and of course, we're made up of 60% water, so that's what's going on inside our bodies. So it's, words are very, very important indeed. Yeah.
So would that be sort of, if we were going to start with, or take one thing away in terms of starting on our I guess our own money story, is, you know, if we start just on a daily basis having a positive affirmation, and I know that, you know, word affirmations aren't as powerful unless we believe it on the inside, and you know, this is obviously the work that you do, is changing the subconscious and the unconscious and what's going on the inside, because, you know, our heart resonance is so much more powerful than our brain resonance. And so, you know, words are important and powerful, but actually we have to believe inside what we're saying. If we don't believe it, then it's not as powerful. But if we were just to start somewhere, would having a positive affirmation be one of the starting points?
Absolutely. And a really powerful one is because 80% of people do not feel enough. So that's really, really, you know, catastrophic again for this wealth creation. So a very easy thing to do is to just take some lipstick or a marker and just write on your mirror, I am enough. And that is just incredibly powerful. You know, just a constant reminder that every time you look in the mirror, it's like, yep, I'm enough.
Do you know what? I have that. I have a chalk pen, and on the mirror in my bathroom, I have a ton of affirmations that are just, you know, I love you. You are amazing. I am worthy. You are beautiful inside and out. It's just like, I'm going to start off every day with a positive thought.
Yeah, it's amazing. It does work because it just sends you off on a really good footing. You know, it's just like you just get that little boost of energy and kind of like reminder, because you do need reminding, because if you're just waiting for outside, you know, affirmations from someone else, then it may never come. But it's, you know, everything you need is within. So you just activate that and remind yourself, so that, you know, you can be that powerful person that you always were. But you always, you know, we all diminish ourselves, and we really should not be doing that.
I always think it's, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's, you know, I'm not going to go backwards. So if at all this work nudges me forward some way, or just sets me up for a, you know, a positive day, then that in itself is powerful, and that is positive. So Heather, I've loved talking to you. Thank you so much. Such magic in this conversation and so much value. We'll make sure all of the ways that people can connect with you and get in touch with you are included in the bottom, because the work you do is incredibly important, not just for women, but everyone. But, you know, obviously women's money stories are super, super important because of all of the stuff that, you know, we are sort of dealing with from the gender lens. But everyone should, you know, should really readdress their money story. So thank you so much. I've loved talking to you, and we will no doubt speak again soon.
Thanks, Rebecca. It's been lovely.
Thank you for listening. To find out more about how triiyo can support your people, visit triiyo.com.